Have you ever picked up your phone just to check one notification, and somehow 30 minutes later you're deep into 5 different apps, watching a random video about ancient Rome while half listening to a podcast and still feeling bored? Or you open Netflix, scroll for 10 minutes, can't decide, open YouTube, watch 3 shorts, switch to Instagram, then come back to Netflix and think, why does nothing feel satisfying anymore? If that sounds familiar, here's a slightly uncomfortable question. Are you actually bored, or are you addicted to mental stimulation? Most people think stimulation addiction is about phones, social media, or short attention spans, like it's just a modern tech problem. But psychologically, it's much deeper than that. It's not really about devices, it's about your brain's relationship with novelty, reward, and silence. And once you understand that, you start to see it everywhere. In the way you can't sit in a room without background noise, in the way you need music while studying, a video while eating, and your phone while watching the video, in the way doing nothing feels almost uncomfortable, even slightly painful. It's like your brain has developed a fear of empty space. Let's imagine your mind is a house. For most of human history, people spent a lot of time just sitting in that house, thinking, daydreaming, staring at the sky, letting thoughts wander. Now, your house is full of TVs. Every room has a screen, and whenever one turns off, another one automatically turns on. Silence feels suspicious. Stillness feels wrong, as if something is missing. Psychologically, what's happening is closely tied to dopamine. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical, like people often say. It's the anticipation chemical. It's what drives motivation, curiosity, and seeking behavior. It's the feeling of something interesting might be here, let me check. And modern life is basically a dopamine playground. Every scroll, every notification, every new video, every new piece of information gives your brain a tiny hit of anticipation. Not satisfaction, anticipation. So your brain learns a pattern. Stimulation equals possibility. Possibility equals reward. And suddenly, your nervous system becomes tuned to constant input. It's like your brain is always leaning forward, waiting for the next mental snack. The problem is, when your brain gets used to high levels of stimulation, normal levels start to feel empty. Reading one page of a book feels slow. Watching a movie without checking your phone feels restless. Sitting alone with your thoughts feels weirdly intense. Not because those things are boring, but because your brain's baseline has shifted. It's similar to how someone who eats extremely sugary food all the time stops enjoying fruit. The fruit didn't change, their taste threshold did. And this is where the addiction part quietly appears. Mental stimulation addiction isn't about craving one specific thing. It's about craving the state of being mentally occupied. You're not addicted to TikTok. You're addicted to not being alone with your mind. You're addicted to the feeling of constant engagement, constant novelty, constant input. And when that input stops, something surfaces. For many people, that something is discomfort, anxiety, restlessness, boredom, existential thoughts, emotions that were being distracted away. Questions like, what am I doing with my life? Or why do I feel this way? Or why am I not happy as I thought I would be? Stimulation becomes a way to avoid inner experience. Your brain goes, oh, silence? No thanks, let's open something. And the more you do that, the more silence starts to feel dangerous. From a psychological perspective, this connects to something called experiential avoidance. That's the tendency to avoid internal experiences, like thoughts, emotions, and sensations that feel uncomfortable. Instead of sitting with boredom, you escape it. Instead of sitting with sadness, you scroll. Instead of sitting with uncertainty, you watch something. Instead of sitting with yourself, you fill the space. So mental stimulation becomes emotional anesthesia. Not because you're weak, but because your brain learned that distraction works. There's also an identity layer to this. Many people secretly tie stimulation to feeling alive. Busy mind equals meaningful life. Full schedule equals important person. Constant content equals interesting existence. So when there's nothing happening mentally, it feels like you're wasting time, like you're fading, like you're not doing enough. But here's the strange paradox. The more stimulation you consume, the less deeply you experience anything. You're exposed to more, but you absorb less. You see more, but feel less. You know more, but understand less. It's like standing under a waterfall of information with a teacup. Your brain becomes excellent at skimming reality, but loses the ability to sink into it. And that's why people often describe this vague modern feeling of being mentally tired but not mentally fulfilled. Your mind is exhausted, but your soul is bored. You've consumed thousands of pieces of content, but nothing really stayed with you. Nothing changed you. It's like fast food for consciousness. Neuroscientifically, constant stimulation trains your attention to expect rapid rewards. Your brain becomes less comfortable with slow processes. Reflection feels effortful. Deep focus feels draining. Presence feels unfamiliar. So you seek more stimulation to escape the discomfort created by stimulation itself. It becomes a loop. You're overstimulated, so you feel restless. You feel restless, so you seek stimulation. You seek stimulation, so your baseline rises. Your baseline rises, so everything else feels dull. And slowly, your brain forgets how to be still without feeling empty. What's interesting is that boredom used to be a gateway to creativity. Historically, boredom forced the mind to wander, to imagine, to invent, to reflect. Now, boredom barely exists. The moment it appears, it gets eliminated with a swipe. So the mind never fully stretches. It never goes deep enough to discover new internal landscapes. It stays on the surface, surfing external waves. This also affects memory. When your brain is constantly switching between stimuli, it doesn't encode experiences deeply. So days start to blend together. You forget what you watched, you forget what you learned, you forget what you felt. Time feels fast because nothing is being fully registered. That's why months pass and you think, what did I even do this year? Your brain was busy, but not present. And here's the part people rarely talk about. Chronic mental stimulation often hides loneliness. Not social loneliness necessarily, but internal loneliness, a disconnection from your own inner world, from your thoughts, your values, your desires, your fears. You're constantly connected to content, but disconnected from yourself. So silence feels awkward, stillness feels empty, because you're not used to your own company anymore. But the mind is not meant to be entertained 24/7. It's meant to oscillate between input and output, between engagement and rest, between attention and reflection. When one side dominates, the system becomes unbalanced. And yet, mental stimulation addiction isn't something to shame yourself for. It makes perfect sense. You live in a world designed to capture attention. Every app, platform, and device is engineered to keep you mentally engaged. Your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do: seek novelty, avoid discomfort, and conserve emotional energy. The environment changed faster than the nervous system, so your brain is running ancient software in a hyper-stimulating world. The shift isn't about quitting technology or becoming a monk, it's about relearning how to tolerate low stimulation without panicking, how to sit in a room without immediately reaching for something, how to let your thoughts exist without instantly replacing them with noise. At first, it feels uncomfortable because your brain expects entertainment. But that discomfort is actually your nervous system recalibrating. It's like silence detox. And slowly, something strange happens. You start noticing things again. Your own thoughts become interesting. Your emotions become clearer. Your attention becomes deeper. You remember what it feels like to be inside your life instead of constantly observing other people's lives. You start feeling time differently, slower, fuller, more real. Not because life became more exciting, but because you became more present. And here's the philosophical twist. Maybe the reason we crave so much stimulation isn't because life is boring. Maybe it's because life is actually overwhelming, and stimulation is how we avoid fully feeling it, fully confronting it, fully inhabiting it. Being present means feeling uncertainty, feeling impermanence, feeling emotions without filters, feeling responsibility for your own existence. And that's intense. So your brain says, let's watch something. But the cost of constant stimulation is that you never fully arrive in your own life. You're always one tab away from somewhere else, one notification away from distraction, one video away from avoiding yourself. So the real question isn't, are you addicted to mental stimulation? The real question is, what happens when you're not stimulated? What shows up? What thoughts appear? What feelings surface? What questions your mind keeps trying to avoid? Because those moments, uncomfortable as they are where self-awareness lives. That's where meaning lives. That's where you stop consuming reality and start experiencing it. And maybe the goal isn't to eliminate stimulation, but to stop being controlled by it, to choose it instead of compulsively reaching for it, to let silence exist without immediately killing it, to let boredom breathe long enough for something real to emerge.